Hello, I'm the air quotes comedian, and this is the Polemics. Trading Standards have no official stance on whether this is a comedy routine or not. I say yes. My viewing figures say nah, and I feel the numbers, almost non-existent as they are laughing at me. So that's a comedy win. All is right with the world. Can't help but wonder if viewer number 4 is still on board or not, though. I hope they're all right. The last episode was so bad that I thought I'd better make another one as soon as possible. Strike when the iron is hot, that's what they reckon, innit? And I rather meant bad in the sense that it was good, because we live in that kind of world where meaning doesn't really mean anything anymore. I blame language for its ineffectiveness at being able to accurately communicate how useless it is at communicating thoughts. Either that or it's young people, isn't it? Bloody young people, innit, evolving their language in unnatural ways, even though the word unnatural makes no fucking sense when you think about it for half a second, twisting the mother tongue around the skewer of their peculiar vernacular and strange heretical parlance. Take television, for example. An unholy alliance of linguistic necromancy and belligerent butchery, marrying as it does the words vision from the Latin and telly from the Greek, Greek collectively. It wasn't just some guy, Tony the Greek. Oh, got a word for you, mate. So it's not an English word, really, but worse still, it wasn't even put together in Britain. No, it was slapped together in France. Television. Didn't we invent the fucking thing, television? Television, Britain's contribution to the world, along with the invention of concentration camps. Saturday night television is just a continuation of Britain's genocidal bent. Sticking a 99 flake in it doesn't quite shatter the illusion for me. But television, the drug of the nation, breeding ignorance and feeding radiation, you're lucky I don't say that lyric every time I say the word television. So it's French in origin, but it was a Russian who actually invented the word, or rather put two perfectly serviceable but incompatible units of language on a surgical slab and did things to them that no decent being should ever witness. Don't drop down the etymological or linguistic or language history rabbit holes, dear viewer. You'll be fucked forever. You're better off watching the harmless snuff in dark web red rooms. Oddly enough, the phrase dark web red rooms is a little thing I say a few times before I start recording to loosen things up. It isn't, but the fact you believed it speaks volumes. And if you didn't believe it, you calling me a liar? Fuck you. But, television isn't half of the psyop that is the manipulation of language. It's been going on donkey's years. I mean, you probably already heard the true story of the word television. Mere moments ago it was, and how it came about. Now I'm going to tell you a story about Enid Lampel, and I guarantee you've not heard of her, but you're probably familiar with the mark she's made on the English language. In 16th century England, there was a scribe named Enid Lampel, who, for the purposes of this bit, was a real person and not somebody I just made up. Enid was bored translating Samuel Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language from Latin into English, and so decided to have a little fun. We've all been paying ever since that fateful day. It might seem like we're going to take a sharp departure from the subject at hand, but I assure you we're not. When you see a group of animals, you know that there is some kind of silly word to describe it, e.g. a flock of sheep. Indeed, before the 16th century, flock was one of the widely accepted words to describe any collection of animals of a kind, a flock of birds, a flock of sheep, the other widely accepted word being herd. Enid Lampel was aware of this too, but took it upon herself to expand not only the conventions, but the vocabulary of the English language itself. What the fuck is a gaggle? Gaggle? The word doesn't exist outside of a gaggle of geese, and didn't exist before Enid slipped it into the modern dictionary. She went to town, making up new words and putting them into how specific groups of animals should be named. A scurry of squirrels, a warren of rabbits, a dark web red room of honey badgers, etc. But while the English-speaking world may have been trolled by a bored 16th century scribe, I'm here to tell you that, in fact, you can describe a collection of animals in any way you want. Break the chains, me learned friends. I think all in all, with all the material I've produced so far, I've reached the limits of what I can do in the format. I'm repeating myself, relying on mechanisms that I haven't improved upon, and only providing the illusion of subverting anything. I'm creatively knackered, dear viewer. I think if I was... Don't worry, dear viewer, it's not real. The self-deprecation is a necessary part of the bit. Relax. If you weren't worried, where's your humanity? So, I think if I was to change gear and do what the talking heads do on the evil YouTube, which is aggregate the mainstream news media, slice it down to bite-sized chunks, and repackage it for people with the attention span. I think if I was to do a regular commentary on the day's events, it would be a superficial analysis lacking the range and depth required for true engagement. And that's because, in real life, I'm a very superficial man with not much going on under the hood. In fact, if you were to look in there, it's like all dark and stuff, but for one solitary, blinking LED. What's it for? Who knows? I hope that clears up why I'm not covering anything topical this time out. Words are amazing, though. They are amazing things, dear viewer. Some of them, some words, you can chop them clean in half, and the two halves will still be alive, perfectly fine, wriggling about, saying, "Use me in a sentence, use me." But you know, don't be cruel to words. You shouldn't abuse them. Save that for your genitals. Words generally have an accepted definition, you know, it's kind of the point. But take a word like pylon. When I think of that word, I'm not actually concerned with its actual meaning because it has a few. And what I mean when I say pylon is probably the same as it means to you. A frame-like tower that is constructed from metal for the purposes of holding up electrical cables. You wouldn't put it exactly like that, of course, but we generally agree that that is more or less what the word pylon means to the average folk. If you're familiar with my recent material and you're waiting for me to do what would be an obvious callback to a previous outing, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. I'm not even going to mention it. There's more to pylons than dodgy snapshots and community, you know. Anyway, I wonder what it would be like if I was in a field and before me a line of pylons stretching from horizon to horizon, and what if their meaning was lost on me? Ignore the stretching sounds. You try keeping on the same subject for 9 minutes without adjusting your delicates a little. But what if for some reason I was standing there looking at these pylons, their significance, purpose, their very construction a complete mystery to me? What might I think they are? Oh, I might say to myself as I look up at the cabling, what's this? And then I look to one end of this line of pylons where it just merges into the distance. And then I look to the other end of the line of pylons, same thing. I think, I say, what this is the fencing of a gigantic enclosure for an extremely tall animal that can't duck down. Perhaps a brontosaurus with a stiff neck. I like that. Seems like a good place to finish. I thank you for watching. Please don't be jealous of those who didn't watch this. I know it's hard, but don't like the video. Please don't subscribe. Mess with the metrics. That's the kinds of things I like to do. Good night.